All right, we're live. Welcome, folks. Sweet to see this growing sangha and community that are folks here in the Zoom room, and also a big welcome to those of you practicing with us um, after the fact with recording. We appreciate you and hope you feel included. I know where I saw this quote, but tonight's talk is inspired by a quote from Gloria Steinem. And I was thinking today, I don't know if it's an age thing or just a different life experiences, but I thought, oh, some people might not know who Gloria Steinem is. Uh, um, so she's most known as a women's rights activist, as a feminist, as a social activist. And an author, journalist. I think she was a journalist with New York Times, or was she? Yeah, she reported on political campaigns and progressive social issues. Um, and one of our practitioners here in the Zoom room was saying that they have several of her books and find them really helpful and inspiring and excellent books. So below the recording here, I've put a link to her bio and some of her works that are cited on the National Women's History Museum website. One of the many wise things Gloria Steinem said was, this first part is also accredited to many other people in different forms, but this fulsome version is from her. She said, "The truth will set you free, but first it will make you uncomfortable or even angry. Truth often disrupts illusions, challenges comfort, and demands change. But embracing it is the first act of liberation and growth." I, of course, cannot speak to Gloria Steinem and her meaning, but the context of what she is well known for offering at that time, what was around women's issues, feminist issues, liberation issues for all oppressed peoples. And so this is the context she's talking about it, I think, in terms of liberation and the truth of acknowledging these oppressive systems and who's in power and who isn't. For me, everything mm, is filtered through a Dharma lens, and to me, this is like, oh, this is just a Dharma quote when I came across it again. The truth will set you free, but first it will make you uncomfortable or even angry. So, in the Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha, truth is a Pali word satcha, Sacca, satcha. And um, let me just see if I might digress. Mm, okay, so first I'll talk about this part before I go into the Dharma of satcha. The truth will set you free, but first it will make you uncomfortable or even angry. I was just chatting with the Sangha member here before we came on the recording, and we were talking about a certain form of Vipassana retreat. And my first retreat I ever sat was one of these 10-day Vipassana retreats. Obviously, I'm grateful for it because I wouldn't be here now from the insights gained on that first retreat. That being said, it was very painful, very difficult, and um, as she says here, at first it will make you uncomfortable or even angry. I was massively uncomfortable, a great deal of physical pain, but very much emotional, mental anguish more than pain. And and then really, really angry, like so angry at the whatever, a whole bunch of thoughts and mental formulations around how I thought they should do things and shouldn't do things, and just got myself really into, well, eventually into what felt to me like hell realms as they're described in the Dharma, like so full of really, really, really hellish thoughts. So and and it was through that discomfort because of the form of the retreat, which takes away all of the distractions of daily life. There's certainly no cell phones, and there's no chocolate, and there's no alcohol, there's no Netflix, there's no talking, no journaling, no venting, no whatever, going for a long walk. Even the walking trails were limited, and uh, so all the ways that we release our discomfort um, are intentionally contained and limited so that we face the truth, so that we meet things how they are. And doing that, because I couldn't dispel or release all these mental formations that were going on. Um, it just became a boiler pot. And yeah, so great deal of discomfort and anger. Uh, and it was because of just staying there with it, staying until it got like as far as it could go without me physically acting out. Thank all the beings that I did not do that. It was all just in my mind. Thankfully, I didn't like go and vent or yell at someone or something. Um, so that's a blessing. Uh, but went as far as it could go until the truth just dropped like a spotlight in the darkest cave, or like a balloon popping, or like how to describe, just poof, uh, of like they just said sit down and be quiet. I created all the rest of it. They just said, here, sit down and do this. Pay attention to your breath. And I literally went into hell realms. So this really resonates for me. The truth will set you free, but first it will make you uncomfortable or even angry. And this could apply into so many realms of when we'll talk a bit about what truth means here in the Dharma. She goes on to say, truth often disrupts illusions. Like, absolutely, absolutely. Our illusions of how we think things are, who we think we are, how we think others should be, um, all of these illusions. And truth, as we'll talk about in a moment, disrupts illusions, challenges comfort, 100%. All of our preferences and comforts and how we want things to be, and demands change. When we see clearly the nature of things, you can't unsee it. This is the nature of insight of vipassana, which we're practicing, seeing clearly the nature of things, vipassana, seeing in this special way, vi and passana. And um, when we have insights into how things are, which change naturally occurs from that because we can't talk ourselves out of insights. It's just known. Um, and then she finishes by saying, but embracing it, embracing truth, is the first act of liberation and growth. I couldn't agree more. So, Satya, truth, the Four Noble Truths, Satya. This is what the Buddha awoke to, among other things, um, in his first experience of fully awakening and liberation from dukkha. And so these four ennobling truths, Satya, are the first is the truth that part of this human spirit experience, not just for humans, this sentient life experience includes dukkha, suffering. Oh, I hate to just call it suffering, but dukkha is another Pali word, dukkha, and uh, there's three kinds of dukkha. Okay, dukkha is everything from mild discomfort, just don't quite like how that is, mm, through all the degrees of not liking into maybe around the center of the spectrum, stress, anxiety, which we can all relate to, arising and passing, and and then all the way into what I was describing, like of severe, extreme angst and uh, despair. So this word dukkha, that sometimes is just referred to as suffering, is this vast continuum of things not being how we want them to be, which also includes the beautiful, wonderful, lovable experiences that are impermanent. And so again, they're not how we want them to be. We want them to stay. We want that to stay the same. So the Buddha realized this is the first noble truth, that part of our experience is going to include dukkha. There's dukkha dukkha. It's literally called dukkha dukkha, which is um, just the bare experience of being in a sentient form that experiences physical pain, mental pain, emotional pain, um, the pain of, stubbing your toe, the pain of losing our loved ones dying, the pain of our illness, etc. So this is just that bare experience of that form of dukkha. And then there's viparinama dukkha, which is the dukkha of impermanence, like I was just saying, because everything is constantly changing. We can't keep what we want to keep, and because of the boundless conditions of everything, also unpleasant things come that we're not in control of. So, and then there's the sankhara dukkha, which is the dukkha of our mental formations. which is like the most of the time, is the is what some might recall the second dart of what we add to experiences of like it shouldn't be this way and why is this happening to me and I can't believe they did that and all those formations, those grooves of how of mental formations that we add to experiences. And it's also just part of the nature of this life. So this is the first noble truth. And it is true. The second noble truth that the Buddha awoke to is is that he saw with incredible insight and clarity that there's an actual cause for this dukkha, all these forms of dukkha, and it's not what we think. We think the cause is them because they did that, or the cause is this circumstance. That's the problem. If I could fix all these problems and get everyone to live by my rule book, I've figured it out. If you would all just follow my guidelines, I'd be happy. If everyone's got their own book, that's the problem. So, second noble truth the Buddha saw was that the actual cause of all these forms of suffering is clinging attachment to how we want things to be and how we don't want things to be. The third noble truth that the Buddha awoke to is that if there's a cause for something to arise, if you take away the cause, it won't arise. So he could see the third noble truth that it is also possible to have an ending of dukkha. There's still going to be physical pain, there's still loss, there's still the first dukkha, but the dukkha and all these other forms of the additional forms of suffering are caused by attachment, clinging to pushing things away or holding on to things, how we want it to be and how we don't want it to be. And then the fourth noble truth is the way, the middle path, the eightfold middle path, the noble path to the ending of dukkha. And this is our whole vast practice of this eightfold path of how we live and what we cultivate in order to be free from dukkha. Um, and because when people, okay, I just almost went on a sidetrack. Okay. Another set of truths in the Dharma, we're talking about truth. Another set of truths are the three characteristics of all things. These are interrelated with the Four Noble Truths. The three characteristics of all things that are true is that all things are impermanent. Even the most solid thing is going to rust, is might get chips out of it, is even Mount Everest is changing its size. Um, Everything is vibrating and forming, falling apart, coming together, changing all the time, including our this self that we feel is permanent and separate. And this second characteristic of all things that is true is that everything is interconnected, interbeing. Nothing is separate. It's all reliant on boundless conditions, causes and conditions that come together to create this constantly moving, evolving experience of living. And the third characteristic is that because all things are conditioned, interconnected, and impermanent, this gives rise to dukkha, which is the third characteristic of all things. There's nothing to be clung to because it's all ephemeral and beyond, mostly beyond our control. What we can not control, but cultivate is our response, our reactions to how things are. So when people talk about, truth in daily life or in a conversation or in a debate, yeah, but this is true and that's not true. And like, wow, we're in that, right? Like so much disparity in beliefs and values. And I often think like, well, what do I really know is true aside from my values, my perceptions, my history, my background, my class and culture and privilege of where I live and all of these causes and conditions. If I was born and living in those causes and conditions of some person that I think is living, is believing things that are untrue, I would believe those same things. I would be living that exact same way. And so what is when it strip away all of our attachments to views, ditthi, views, then what's left that's true? Oh, dukkha, cause of dukkha is clinging. It's possible for that to end. Everything is impermanent. Everything is vastly interconnected and not a reliable source for happiness to be clung to. This is a long talk tonight, sorry. And I don't need to say sorry, it's all right. And the only other thing that for me personally feels like a truth is when I think about love. What is love? It feels true to me that this thing we call love is attention. Whenever I pay attention to something, I feel a sense of love. I feel a sense of interconnectedness and care, whether it's a tree, whether it's passing someone on the street, whether it's a beloved friend, family, etc. It's the quality of attention is what defines that as an experience of love for me. That's something that feels like a truth in my direct experience, which brings me to, as I mentioned, Vipassana. Insight is a translation of this word Vipassana meditation that we're practicing. And when one has an insight, a- which is a direct experience of knowing these Four Noble Truths, or a direct experience of knowing these three characteristics, or um, it's a type of knowing that's not because you read it in a book, because the Buddha said so, because somebody said so, because the person won the debate with that point. Okay, well, I believe that then. It's a cellular kind of knowing. Like it's such an aha that nobody's going to talk you out of it. No one's going to say, yeah, but that's not true. It's like I don't know what to tell you. I just know it. You just know. You have a direct experience of it being it really is impermanent. Oh, I know that in the head, but when you actually feel it and know it on a deep level, It's not something that is an opinion or a view anymore. It's not debatable. And the same with any of these characteristics. For me, what I described there of that first retreat was like a bombshell of a knowing of dukkha and the ending of dukkha when the not I realized, but when awareness dropped in, oh, I created all of that suffering. Like it was it was super intense and went on for a big period of time, felt like eternity. But oh, I did all that. That was all me. All those stories, all of that was all in my mind. That was a direct insight of dukkha and the ending of dukkha, not permanently, far from, but just an important moment. And um, and it's like no one can talk you out of it. That's like a truth. That's it. That's it. Not all insights come like big dramas like that, but sometimes they're very subtle and they grow on us gradually, but it's still something that you know. You understand, you know directly. Oh, that's dukkha, clinging to how I want things or don't want them to be. And oh, that's a moment of ending of dukkha, letting go of the clinging and then experiencing directly the freedom, the liberation that the Buddha taught. These Four Noble Truths, this is a long one tonight. Okay, last thing, not always like this. Um, but these Four Noble Truths that the Buddha awoke to and thankfully taught, thank you, um, have four corresponding actions that go with each one of them. Sometimes this is overlooked. The first noble truth, the truth of dukkha is to be understood. What else is there to say about this? Is to be understood, is to practice, to pay attention, to meet with a teacher, to have a sangha, to continue to explore, is this true dukkha? And it's to be understood. The second action that goes with the second noble truth, the second noble truth is that there's a cause of dukkha, the cause is clinging, and this is action to be abandoned. Clinging is to be abandoned, not just to be known and carried on with. It's to be abandoned. The third noble truth, which is that an ending of dukkha is possible, is to be realized. That's like such a call to practice, such a call to develop the Eightfold Path. It's to be realized that, oh, there's moments, there's times where letting go happens, freedom from clinging happens, and we need to recognize it, realize it, to name it like, oh, I'm free of that. You might pick it up again, but recognize it when it happens. And then the fourth noble truth, the, the way to the ending of dukkha, the middle path, is to be developed, which is what we're doing. Yeah, such good stuff. We're so lucky. We're so lucky to have heard this Dharma. Wow, what a precious gift. Ugh. So grateful. And thank you, Glorious Dynam, and apologies for me taking my spin on your sweet quote about truth. The truth will set you free, but first it will make you uncomfortable or even angry. But I'm sure it's their fault. Ah, damn. Truth often disrupts illusions, challenges comfort, and demands change. But embracing it is the first act of liberation and growth. Wow. Let's practice. All right. So adjust your space if you need any other supports. Hmm. As you're settling into your posture for your practice, see if you need any movement or stretch or touch or warmth or support with your posture. Mm. So that you're not forcing yourself into a form that feels like what you should be doing. More that when you feel ready for stillness, it feels like a coming home, a welcome invitation, an arriving, a resting. And it feels that you're taking care with yourself, with your body, with your posture, meeting yourself where you are. And as you begin to settle in and meet yourself, we gently guide our awareness down, around, through this body, this fathomless, fathom long body, as the Buddha called it. And taking some time to notice any areas of habit, tension, or contraction, and see if that's needed in this moment, or if some softness or care is needed with those areas of tension. So you might take time to feel some of the muscles of the face, around the temples and the center of the forehead where we can contract when we try to figure things out, or around the muscles in the hinge of the jaw or the tongue as we are activated by all the words and language. And around the flesh of the skull and down the neck and across the shoulders. Is there any release or softness that is helpful here? As the muscles lengthen, the bones settle down, shoulder bones slide down. If you feel tension in the area of the torso, perhaps the back or the chest or belly, see if taking 2 or 3 slightly deeper breaths helps to just remind the body of movement in these areas, or a little bit of flexibility in areas that might feel rigid. Feeling into the deeper inner layers of the abdomen, closer back towards the spine. Seeing if there's tension there that could ease with some caring attention. Soft belly, soft heart, soft face, soft hands. Hands that practice the third noble truth of letting go. And as these muscles continue to soften or relax, we might begin to feel more weightedness, more heaviness through the bones of the pelvis, flesh of the legs, the touch of the feet with the ground. And as we continue relaxing and inviting some calm into the body and the mind, this is another aspect of our practice, which is shamatha vipassana. Shamatha is this calm and tranquility aspect of the practice. Vipassana are the insights. So we're allowing this time to just settle in with the body, softening with the sensations of the ground. And then we also call upon the energy, the inner strength, the uprightness of our sila, our ethics, our values. These daily ways that acknowledge our interbeingness, our interrelatedness, and our deepest aspirations to not be causing additional harm through our speech, our actions, our words, our greed, hatred, and delusion. So feel your sense of a strong back and soft front. And now from this embodied sensation in this present moment, just let the sphere of awareness widen a little bit so you feel almost like a very breathable uh, bubble or sphere of awareness around your whole form. front and back, above, below, side to side, so that your awake awareness, the awake awareness, is just knowing the body sitting or reclining in this posture right now. And within that sphere of awareness, just drop a gentle touch of knowing directly all of these impermanent sensations that are happening. You don't need to know them all, but there's a boundless field right now of tingling, pulsing, vibrating, itching, pulsing aliveness that's being directly known. Even the sensations or the areas that feel more constant, like the pressure of your seat or legs or back in the support or chair that you're on. Look beyond the concept into the direct sensation and see, what is that sensation? It's actually a whole field of tingling and changing sensations. The sensations of your hands. If you'd never felt your hands before and suddenly consciousness is dropped into this body and is feeling hands without them needing to move, there's a vast array of sensations happening right now. And all of these sensations are the truth of impermanence. They're moving, vibrating, all of the atoms and molecules are moving and changing. Cells are being born and passing away. Direct experience of that truth. And then gently float open the awareness that's just watching all of the thoughts that have not stopped for one moment. This continuous stream, thoughts and ideas and concepts and memories and wanting. Just since we've started this meditation, boundless stream of thoughts flowing through, all impermanent, all conditioned by various causes and conditions, just flowing through. And awareness is just watching thoughts coming and going. You don't even need to pay attention to what the thoughts are, just bubbling through. There's just a knowing. Thinking is impermanent. Thoughts, impermanent and conditioned, unreliable. This breath is impermanent, conditioned, coming and going. Each breath will not arise again. That was it. And now it's another one and another one. Just rest with the direct experience of these sensations, these thoughts, all of this, anything is imperfect, not permanent, not perfect, not personal, just coming and going. The truth will set you free, but first it will make you uncomfortable or even angry. Truth often disrupts illusions, challenges comfort, and demands change. But embracing it is the first act of liberation and growth. And if any clinging is arising in these moments of wanting things to be another way, a sensation or a thought or the practice or anything in this direct moment, see if you can just name it. It's to be understood. Ah, this is dukkha. Something's being clung to. Or maybe it's a good sensation or good practice and we want to keep it that way. And if we can see the clinging, if there is any, it is to be abandoned. If there is an absence of clinging, that is to be realized. Recognize, just abiding in awake awareness, seeing all of these sensations and formations coming and going, free of dukkha. And this is all arising from the fourth noble truth that is being developed of wise intention, wise action, wise view, wise meditation, perhaps even wise concentration, wise speech. May all beings everywhere realize the truth of dukkha and the liberation of this truth. And thank you for your practice. And just before we end the recording, and please check the links down below if you practice with us on the YouTube channel. Um, and I'll put a link for this upcoming day-long retreat. It's on Zoom, so accessible to everyone that has access to that. It's Sunday, November 16th, 9:30 to 4 or 10 to 4. 9:30 is kind of tea time to just come and visit as we settle in. There's a full description here. I'm co-teaching with Coral Short, and this is a White Awakening day-long retreat, an online retreat. So this is a dedicated online day of practice for white anti-racist practitioners grounded in meditation. As we all know, what we were just talking about, the suffering, the dukkha that is rooted in white supremacy, um, as we continue this working for the dismantling of this harmful system for the safety and care of all of our marginalized neighbors. As our hearts and minds are activated in this work, we sometimes become exhausted or depleted or feel hopeless or overwhelmed. And so we're offering this day to come together for real rest and care and regulation of our heart, mind, body as white practitioners wanting to continue our anti-racist work as Buddhists or as meditators. And so um, in the link, you'll see like a full breakdown of the day and the practices. There'll be some, Coral is a somatic practitioner, so there'll be some somatic embodied practices. Well, all of meditation is that, but particular particular focus there. Dharma talks and lots of mindful rest periods. Um, some trauma-informed somatic practices that to tend to our unfreezing of our nervous systems or a soothing of our nervous system as needed. There'll be some sharing time and yeah, a really important, hopefully nurturing day of practice together. I'm really looking forward to it, and I really hope that some of you will also find it supportive. There's a sliding scale, um, and you can read about that in the link. So please check it out Sunday, November 16th. All right. And I think I'm here for the next few Wednesdays. So maybe we'll see you again for practice or yeah, may you be free.